What's going on, everybody? Just Xander here today. No Vinny, just doing a small video about workflow in FL Studio and specifically presets from the big picture stuff like entire project presets to we're working our way down to just plugin presets and everything in between. So to start with my default project here, I call it Quick Heavy Sidechain V3 because it is basically set up for ridiculously quick sidechain, and that is useful in most things. I have to kind of dial it back for the faster genres like drum and bass, but this works for a lot of what I do, which is heavier electronic music. So the only starting instrument I've got here is this Impulse, which is just a Citrus preset with a very, very, very short time that it's active when you press a note. You won't see it make any noise because the only thing it's routed to is as a sidechain on this channel here. So it's not being routed to the master. It's not making any noise except invisibly to the sidechain send channel here. If you do want to hear it, here's what it sounds like. Just a really short little blip. It doesn't really matter the tone of what it sounds like. It only matters what the length of it is. So I mean, I could have that set to a square wave and it does the exact same thing. Really all that is doing is when I play that, it acts as a trigger for sidechain here. So when we've got that playing with something that's being sidechained, you can see how much it is ducking it by. It's ducking it by like 90 decibels for just a split second. This is pretty much long enough for the transient of like a kick drum to come through, like the really snappy beginning part. And then the release time on that is typically about the right time for like a full drum sound. It does create a little bit of a click sound, but that click kind of adds to the transient of whatever drum I'm feeding the track at the same time. So it doesn't matter as much, weirdly. Definitely not a perfect system, but like I said, it doesn't matter as much as you would think because it gets masked so hard by, you know, everything else that is going on during that time, which is pretty much just like max volume drums. That gets into mixing, mastering stuff, of which I have a very unorthodox technique. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my default preset. The only other thing is this master channel, which I'm considering changing around to better optimize for mastering things. But the way it is right now, there's just a low cut at apparently 31 hertz. That's supposed to be 30, but it's fine. That's just to get rid of any like infrabass that isn't really contributing to anything. And then just a gentle roll off at, I could probably set that a little higher. But that's just to roll off some of like the super high end that is probably going to get lost with more like compressed exports anyways. So like if it's not going to be there for every single kind of file that I put out, then it's just taking up headroom in those files. That's the way I see it anyways. I kind of just eyeballed these values, so they are definitely subject to change at some point. And then the only other thing I have enabled is just a master limiter. which is not like adding any gain or anything. And then wave candy here. This is this little window in the top right that lets you see the waveforms of everything that's happening. It's not changing the sound in any way, shape, or form. It's at the very end of this chain, so it's giving me an accurate read on what is getting output to my speakers. And that can be useful for analysis sometimes. Like if I want to, I can freeze the wave so I can see stuff like how my kick and sub are interacting on an instance by instance basis, which is just nice. It's a little fancy maybe, but I don't mind. And then disabled right now is this Pro MB preset, which is just a multi-band compressor preset that kind of keeps things in line. It's not super strong. Everything has a range of about 6 dB. So it's not doing anything like wild. Oops, got rid of that one. And sometimes I don't even think it's necessary, but yeah, if I turn it on and happen to like it more, then usually I'll keep it around. Span over here is for more detailed analysis. Nothing too crazy about that one. That one's a free plugin, by the way. Go download Span. It's pretty cool. Speaking of free, this is the Julian Loudness Meter 2, which I use for mastering. This is where I get my loofs level for an entire track. And that's it for my default project. I also have channel presets, not too many, but I've got a backup of my master and the sidechain sends just in case anything happens to that and I want to revert. And then I've got one for kick drum and one for a sidechain to reverb. And that's really like all there is. Like I don't use mixer presets a whole lot because that's where I like to go in and get a little custom on a project by project basis. And honestly, this sidechain to reverb I don't ever use anymore because I've converted it to a much more useful kind of preset now. Yeah, the kick preset is just a little bit of wave shaper for some distortion, some low end upwards compression, soft clipper, and then just an EQ to stop it from being a little boxy after all that. Usually it comes out sounding similar, but with a little more oomph to it. Nothing too crazy there. I've also got some more project specific ones for like projects that I do often. So I've got some stuff for recording session that I was doing before, like during COVID times. And then I've got a YouTube recording preset actually. So this is all of the stuff that goes on my voice after I hit stop recording to make it sound all lovely. But yeah, now we can start talking about default instrument presets. So every instrument that I use regularly, I have a default preset for it that just speeds up the things that I would normally do anyways. And that's kind of what this all comes down to is if there's something I'm gonna do like 90% of the time when I open something up and I can turn it into a preset, then I do. So that way I don't have to do that every single time. And it saves a little bit of time in each instance, which adds up to a decent amount of time. So for Serum here, I've changed the default preset to be Both oscillators are on this basic shapes wavetable, because that's where I like to stick to a lot of the time. This filter is just a little lower than normal, so that way when I drag something onto it, it's not in bipolar mode, because I like never use it like that. Trying to think if I've got any other. Oh, yep. Pretty much every time I use the X Shaper distortion mode, I've got part A like this. Just like a bunch of little things like that. And then also the default coloring for the instruments, because I color code a lot of stuff. The default color coding for basses for me is green, so I can use Serum for a lot of different things, but basses is one of the more common uses. So I figure even if it's not right every time, the worst I have to do is go through and change the color, which I would have to do anyways if I didn't do this, because originally it just opens as like a gray, and I never use gray for anything. The way to set all that up in FL Studio, by the way, is if you go over to plugins and then like whatever category of plugin that this belongs in. If you hit add to plugin database, flag as favorite, then it will open like that every single time. That's how I do that for both generators and effects. So super useful. That's kind of a recent addition to my workflow. Vital is also green. Phase Plant is also green. Those two I use pretty much exclusively for basses. Some of these show up as like red, or this shows up as blue if it decides to load at some point. Yeah, and that's all just according to what my color coding system has for me. The less of that I have to fiddle with, the better, because it is admittedly the slowest part of my workflow is color coding things. Because I have to go through, I have to rename something, and then I have to go through and pick out the actual color, because there's no way to just like pin colors down here. It's just whatever you've used most recently. So in this case, like the number 8 down here is the right color, but like if it wasn't on there, then I would have to go through and pick it out myself, which is this little square up here. It's a whole thing. I wish there was a way to make that a little quicker. We can also go into effects, presets, and stuff, but it's really this same thing. Like, for example, Serum effects, I've got just loaded up this same X Shaper thing here, so I can use it as like kind of a sidechain LFO thing. Like there's nothing all that crazy on there. The main thing that I wanted to show off for effect presets is Patcher. I don't have a default Patcher preset because Patcher can be used for a million other things. In case you were unaware, Patcher is basically a way to free flow combine inputs and outputs to like any number of things that you want. So it's kind of a DAW within a DAW in a weird way. So like if I wanted to like throw that into there and then also put a compressor over here and then have both of those outputs feeding out there, I can do that. I can also just have a direct out that bypasses all of that. There's a ton of stuff you can do with Patcher that's like really scratching the surface. The first thing I want to show off is this dry wet module, which is a little bit broken sometimes. I think it only works if you use it as a patcher instrument preset, which is weird. But either way, it's still really cool. Either that or it's the other way around. I really don't remember. But basically, whatever you want to have as like an effect that you control with this dry wet slider, you slot in here. I did not create this one. I actually found this on a forum somewhere, but it is really, really useful. This frequency splitter just separates the low, mid, and high range into these separate outputs. So I can connect those to different things, use that one all the time. There's this high-end stereoizer, which right now it isn't doing a whole lot. It's just dephasing some left and right in the high end. But yeah, obviously with this here, I can change things. It doesn't have to stay the way it is. I should also upgrade this because this was my old frequency splitter setup before there was a dedicated frequency splitter plugin. So these are all just Maximus with like one of the bands enabled and then the other one's completely muted. There's the lo-fi-ifier. So that band passes everything and then throws it into this tape mello-fi plugin that makes things sound just a little crustier. And then that goes into this gate plugin because the mello-fi has like kind of a constant mechanical background noise thing, which is cool and all, but like I don't want it to be there always. So this kind of stops that from happening. There's the low-end monoizer. Again, same concept as the high-end stereoizer. It literally just uses only the right channel for the low end. So that's it. That's all it does. It doesn't do any stereo summing or anything like that. It just completely filters out one side and replaces it with the other. This is just like a very silly, like meme bass booster preset that I've never used seriously in my life. This is like a distortion saturator thing for psytrance basses. There's this one, which I use all the time. This is a reverb and delay that completely ignores the low end. And then the high end is the only one that goes into this delay. And then the delay goes into the reverb and also bypasses it. That's getting a little more complicated. This is a self side-changed delay, which is really cool. This is what I meant by that self side-chained reverb is dead, because I pretty much just have to make that in this, doing the same process. I just haven't done it yet. The super flattener here, I'm gonna be real, I don't really use this, but kind of a fun idea anyways. Just a bunch of multiband compressors in a row to like really flatten out a signal. The Screams of the Damned is just a meme. It's just a come back. The Screamed of the Damned is just a meme preset. It's a bunch of distortion that's arranged in as close to a pentagram as I could get it, because I don't know, that's kind of funny. It doesn't sound good. It has never sounded good. I missed one, and this is the most interesting one. This is the multi-band delay. So this is what it looks like behind the scenes, and yes, I did set this up myself, and yes, it was a massive pain. But basically the concept behind it is FL has this multi-band delay plugin that it added recently. And it basically takes like different frequency ranges and gives them their own individual delay times. You can see here they kind of impact each other, which is cool. But I wanted there to be a way to chain a bunch of these together, and so you can create like custom control knobs over here. So if I turn up this 31 knob, that gets fed into this formula controller, which is basically multiplying that knob by like an overall magnitude knob, and then that gets applied to the 31 band on every single one of these. So it's a multiplicative effect. And you can get some really weird, like comb filtery artifacts out of this, especially if you turn on that or turn down the scale. Let's feed a sound into this actually so we can hear what it's doing, because it is really cool. Okay, so I've just got like a very basic sawtooth wave being fed into this from Serum. And now if we turn up one of these, one of them doesn't sound crazy, right? It just sounds like a filtered delay, because that's really what it is. But if you chain like a bunch of these together, and they start interacting with each other in weird ways. And here's where it gets really weird. If you turn down this scale, you can get some really weird metallic-y results. So yeah, I could play around with that all day. It's super cool. Just like a fun little like sound design machine. Yeah, that's pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about with presets and stuff. Again, a lot of this stuff just comes down to optimizing your workflow so you don't have to repeat the same steps over and over again. Like if I know that I'm gonna add like these plugins to a kick drum anyways, more than likely, then like I might as well just have them there to start with, right? That's kind of the idea behind all this. Everything is, as always, a work in progress. This kick preset didn't always have this soft clipper or this EQ. That's really all this comes down to, and I wanted to show you kind of my evolution with that. Obviously, everything is still a work in progress. I play around with my workflow pretty often, especially like if I know I want to do something musical, but I don't have any particular like melodic or rhythmic ideas to work with. I'll just start playing around with the DAW itself. You know, just so I'm doing something to provide to my my musical adventure, I guess. And I just wanted to kind of share that idea with all of you. So thank you very much for watching. This has been Xander Morrison signing out. Goodbye.